Let me go to this. So Phil Robertson says the following. We've got it on tape. Listen to this.
What is the answer? I think the only answer is, I think they are at war with us.
Yep.
Whether we like it or not, I think most people would rather live in peace. Most Americans are, just leave us alone, we'll leave you alone. They're not going to leave us alone. They're not going to leave Israel alone. So that leaves us with two options: do nothing, and then get ready for the next attack, and then we'll have a report that says they were at war with us, we weren't at war with them.
In this case, you either have to convert them, which I think would be next to impossible. I'm not giving up on them, but I'm just saying either convert them or kill them, one or the other. Converting them maybe that time has come and gone. So I think that with this ideology that we're faced with, this is like street gangs, street thugs on steroids. You think about it, most of the wars we've fought, they were not asymmetrical like this one. This one, it's not like a country with a standing army and we line up and do battle with a certain amount of rules that they violate, but you say this is more like worldwide gang warfare, but this gang is well armed and well organized. I think, my opinion, we're going to have to deal with this group way more harshly than we have up to this point.
And I think after what we've seen, Rick Unger, I think he's right.
I actually like your comment better. Change your ways. Because
I
had some real problems with the converting thing.
Well,
why not convert them to my religion? You know what I mean?
To me, it's what it means.
And by the way, for those who have already committed some of the worst crimes we've ever seen, too late to convert them. They got to pay.
They got to pay.
Yeah.
All right. Where is your president? Where is the man you love? Where is Obama?
You know what?
The guy that says
president.
We don't have a strategy to
we
fight.
Do.
No, we don't. He said we don't.
If you're paying, if you're paying attention the past couple of days, you're beginning to see the strategy.
Oh.
And you know what it looks a lot like? The very same strategy that the first President Bush employed. And you know how long it took the first President Bush to pull it off? A little over 2 months. UAE yesterday came out and made an emphatic statement that they will be supporting us in all ways. When was the last time you saw that happen?
Here is the problem. Over a year ago, Tamara, the president's been getting his presidential daily briefing. He's known about the rise of ISIS. He could have prevented all these cities that Americans shed their blood for. 4,000 Americans dead fighting for Iraq. Every city they fought for now, short of Baghdad, and that'll probably be next, has now been taken over by radical Islamists. He never asked a question, never acknowledged reading it, never did a thing to stop it before all of this happened.
Well, I think that he wanted to pull out of Bush's war as quickly as possible and say that he was done and look at and get accolades for doing that. And instead of doing the right thing, it's backfired, and he's pulled out too quickly, and now we have all of these people infiltrating. The problem is that his word choice is so bad. He didn't mean that he didn't have a strategy. It's just that he didn't have one at that time. They were working on it, but
I want to play it. Because you're interpreting it.
He said we don't have a strategy, but he didn't mean that.
And he was actually talking about Syria when he said it.
All right, just like he wasn't talking about ISIS when he said it was the JV team.
But I'm not defending him.
There's a lot of spin.
Yes, he was.
Josh Earnest lied.
I'm not defending him. I think that he has been very poor in articulating a strategy to the American people. What he should be saying, and to give Bush some credit, is something that Bush would do. He would come out and say, this is what we're going to do. We're going to go after these people, and here's how we're going to go after them. We've had 2 Americans beheaded, and he's like,
we could use a little Texas swagger.
Yeah, but wait.
Let me bring in Zuhdi Jasser. Dr. Jasser, you're the president of the American Islamic Forum. What frightens me in this equation more than anything, and we'll deal more with this in the next hour, is you've got radical Islamists. You got, 1.6 billion Muslims worldwide, we're told. You got the radicals get all the news, all the different radical groups out there. The quote, moderate Muslims we keep hearing about, their voices are silent too often. And I don't know how to interpret that. Does that mean they silently agree or that they're afraid? And then you've got brave people like yourself that risk your life by speaking out against your own religion, telling them this is not what our religion's supposed to be.
Well, I think, Sean, it's a combination of all the above. We like to think we're not speaking against our religion. We're speaking against the Islamists who have hijacked the reality of what Islam could be with reform. Certainly there's reform necessary, but when you have a president that won't even articulate the problem as Islamism, you have a group, the Islamic State, that calls itself what the problem is. And, maybe UAE now is with us and Saudi Arabia might be with us because they have a common enemy. but we're not allies with them. These are not people that share values with us because their ideologies create these monsters. So the bottom line is one of the problems with the convert or die, as a former naval officer, I'll tell you, we should say surrender or die and turn these people, declare war on them. You don't want to say convert because the solution over the next 25 to 50 years, and also short and long term, has to come from within Islam. Otherwise, you're going to have to convert 1.6 billion people. And there are Muslims on the streets who are looking for the West to say that, there is a third pathway in the Muslim world, which is not a old secular autocratic monarchies, and it's not theocracy like with ISIS or the Muslim Brotherhood or Hamas. There can be a third pathway, but the president has been too weak, has not had a strategy, and until we declare, like we did in the Cold War, that communism was the problem, not just the Soviet Union, and in this war, it's Islamism, which is the problem, and the solution is reform-minded modern Muslims.
But look, I got to say something. One, I would probably agree with you, Sean, on some of the criticisms you would level at the Obama administration in this regard. But if we're going to be honest about the blame game, I can take it back and continue the process of how we got to be where we are. I'm not going to do it because my question to everyone is, where does that get us? We are where we are. We need to think about what we are doing going forward. Now, the doctor just said something that was terrific. He's absolutely right when he says that countries like Saudi Arabia, they may be our allies when it comes to oil, but they're not our allies. Do you know how we know that? We know that because what everybody's missing is everything that this ISIS is doing is directly, and I mean to the note, from the Wahhabist playbook.
Yep.
That is exactly what they're up to, and we know what they're going to do, and we know what they are doing because we've seen it in generations before.
So if we know what they're going to do, then why haven't we done something to counter their behaviors?
It's not time yet.
It is time.
It's going to be
time. They have spread like a disease. They are a disease on this entire world.
Like a cancer.
We now have
but you gotta win.
Yes, like an aggressive
can't just
cancer.
rush in.
And the cancer started in Syria 3 years ago. Many of us were screaming with families being massacred by Assad.
True.
That if this is left alone without a policy of engaging the majority that were trying to fight a dictatorship, that all of a sudden you'd have some of the most militants evolve, and that's exactly what happened as we let Iran and Russia guide what happened in Syria. And sure enough, now you've got ISIS, and we're playing into.
But why can't we focus on what to do about it?
But wait a minute. But it's not a matter of blame because you got to have some historical context how we get here. And that is, and I would agree with Dr. Jasser, once the president drew a red line in the sand in Syria and Assad crossed it and he did nothing, that allowed the rise of ISIS. Simultaneously, because the left politicized this war and the president campaigned on getting out at any cost, in spite of it being wise to not fight on no boots on the ground, but intelligence providing for the Iraqi troops, training for the Iraqi troops, this never would have happened. In other words, Mosul, Fallujah, Tikrit, all these other cities that 4,000 Americans died for would not have fallen into the hands of ISIS.
But, going back to Syria, while I agree with you completely, if you say that he should never have made the red line statement.
Just a flash of wisdom every once in a while.
That's true. It's rare, but it happens. I would agree with it. He shouldn't have said that. But now we should all be able to better understand why he didn't do anything. Because if he had, as well as I know, the arms we would have sent would have made ISIS stronger because they were on the same side. You think they were going to nicely say to the moderates,
I'm not saying that any of this is clean. You go back to Afghanistan and our support of the Mujahideen. These are not simple answers.
Exactly.
But the one thing that is simple, and Tamara and I think are on the same page on this, is we now know who these radical Islamists are.
What do you do about it?
We're watching the rise. This is 1938 all over again.
I agree.
We're watching the rise of the modern day Nazis. Their stated intentions are to kill innocent men, women, and children, advance their religion at any cost, destroy Israel, destroy the West.
I agree.
The only answer is you have got to decimate them.
Yes, you do.
You have to destroy them.
And
how?
On top of that, okay, we can talk about how, and you keep repeating yourself that we can't talk about the past and we can't play the blame game. However, my biggest concern as an American is that, of course, I care about Americans abroad and other innocent people abroad. We have ISIS posting a picture in front of the White House. We have ISIS posting a picture in front of a building in Chicago. There was a man in Chicago who was arrested a week ago or 2 weeks ago for driving down the street with an ISIS flag hanging out of his truck, screaming that he had a bomb. And that is very concerning to me. It should be very concerning to all Americans that even if we're talking about these guys over far away in a land that we've never been to, they may be right here living amongst us.
I'm not sure what that has to do with the blame game, but I agree with everything you're saying.
Planning, and
Tamara,
this strategy must be
still I have the
domestic
question, how?
as well as international.
Still I have the question, how? Because if we just rush in and bomb them, have we learned anything from Hamas? And by the way, whoever said they weren't a terrorist group is a moron.
It's an imam.
Well, he may be an imam and a pop, but
he's
crazy.
You really agree with Phil Robertson, except the convert
I did not.
part.
I really
change
didn't
your
like
heart.
that.
You want the words "change your heart."
Exactly.
Change your ways or die.
And by the way, what I thought he should have recognized in every single religion, including my own, I can tell you examples.
But
where
in Christianity,
extremists become extremists.
You know, in Christianity, the word repentance. You know what the Latin derivative of that word is?
I don't.
To change your heart.
Oh, cool.
So that's what he was saying.
Yeah.
All right.
Listen, a terrorist is a terrorist is a terrorist, whatever the religion.
The problem is all we have is a whack-a-mole program. We need a president with a vision of where the opportunities for the Middle East are being lost.
Yeah.
And we don't. There's been no vision, a doctrine. His doctrine is the Darwin doctrine of the most evil winning.
No, that's a little
so
extreme.
Over the top. Yeah.
That's like,
I
don't know.
We're going to save that for
help
another day.
anything.
Tamara, this is a great day. Tamara is on Team Hannity and Jasser. And it's Rick Unger who's off in left field here today. All right, guys. Thank you.